So we're here with legendary multiple Tony Award winner, composer Charles Strouse. So Charles, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today about A Pound in Your Pocket.
My pleasure.
So we just want to ask you some questions about A Pound in Your Pocket, since it's a show that most people haven't heard of before. So can you tell us the story of how it came about for you and Lee Adams to write this piece?
When Lee Adams and I met, he was fresh out of Ohio State University, where he had written the college shows, and I was more or less fresh out of the Eastman School of Music, where I had studied, but I had longings to be a composer, which I'm afraid are still with me, and we got a hold of the script. Lee had been a journalist, and two journalist friends of his had written this script, actually for Helen Hayes on the radio. And we thought it would be a nice thing to get started on. We'd never worked before together, and we liked one another, so it seemed like a very nice thing to start off our career with. We didn't know it was going to be a career. We had just met, but I really liked Lee. And this was the result. It came from the script by these two journalists who had never written for the stage before, Bob Sanadella and Sam, I forget his last name right now. And it was English, which kind of suited Lee's and my needs at the time, in a sense, because we weren't set yet on styles, but we both had enough historical knowledge to kind of, I suppose you'd say, fake it for the period, although we didn't know where we were as authors yet.
And so it's based on a Dickens novel as well.
Yes, as I recall, it's based on a Charles Dickens novel.
The Curiosity Shop.
The Old Curiosity Shop.
Right.
Yes,
So.
I should be interviewing you.
So this was the first time you and Lee had ever collaborated.
Yes, we got to know each other on this, in a sense, and we had a remarkable cast of people who were nobody then, but later turned out to be actually fairly well-known actors, some of whom have passed through the lens of history already. And it was a very good cast, and it had a modest success, for us a great success, because it played only in East Hampton and one other place, and I can't even remember.
Palm Beach, was it? In Florida, right?
I think Palm Beach, yes. In other words, it was about 4.5 miles from Broadway. But it was an opportunity for us to collaborate, and we enjoyed it very much, and it was very intimate in a sense. It was, I played the piano.
Really? That's so fun.
And it was directed by Phil Burton. He was thoroughly English, of course, and thoroughly wise to theatrical ways, and having a son, as he did, who was getting to be well-known in the theater world. And so it had a lot of authenticity when we did it. The cast, however, was not well-known. So we were destined to not be thoroughly examined by well-known newspapers or anything like that. We had, I believe, 2 engagements of it.
It's so interesting to hear how you started, that you had a life before you were the composer of Bye Birdie. That's a life like a lot of artists today who make their living playing piano or, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to put it. At the time, I didn't think of it because I had no vision, just an ambition. So as far as I was concerned, and maybe my father too, I had no future, you might say, as a composer yet. I had dreams.
Wow. Well, you showed them all, didn't you? So then, how was the show received in the Hamptons and wherever in Florida, I believe it was. Also.
Well, it got wonderful reviews, amazingly good reviews.
Oh.
It was not an unsophisticated audience, and the newspapers, you know, in the Hamptons, and I think Palm Beach was the other place we did it. They were really good reviews. It surprised us, and of course, delighted us. And the cast later on, most of them whom I remember, became fairly well known. But at the time, they were kind of an alphabetical order, you might say. A woman by the name of Pert Kelton, who was an expert comedian, but not that well known, and she sang one of Sophie Wackles, one of the roles. It was generally a very positive experience for us.
So, I'm assuming that because your fame took off, is that the reason A Pound in Your Pocket probably got buried somewhere in the archives?
That's true, yes. Although I had reviews that were turning brown, I put them deep in a closet that I keep, you know, things that I don't remember. And and totally forgot about it until Enter You.
So, well, Enter Carolyn Copeland, really,
well, Enter
right?
Carolyn. Carolyn heard it first.
So how did Carolyn get the idea for it?
Because I told her a great deal of what I'm saying in this interview, and then I believe I had, or I still must have, the reviews, showed it to her, and then she said, "Can you play it for me?" And, you know, I did it, and I played it for her, and she loved it. And I kind of liked it too. It was just something we put away, you know, like an old love letter, I suppose. And that's it. And then she decided to take a more professional interest in it and enter Virginia Pike.
Well, and the King's College, who's now producing it this February. But how does it feel to be doing this show again now?
It's like taking out your old dress or my old tuxedo and seeing it doesn't fit you. You put on a lot of weight. On the other hand, there's a kind of nice memory in connection with it.
So, Charles, thank you so much. We're very excited to have our hands on this production. Everyone in the cast is enjoying it, and the music is it's got so many gems that we're excited for the public to hear.
It's so nice of you to say, really.
But I was wondering if you might like to just play a little bit, maybe of one of the tunes for us, maybe a little Someone Who Cares.
Well, I do remember it. If I don't know if I can play it, but I remember how it went.
It feels like a Strouse classic that no one's ever heard before.
Nobody's ever heard it before. Yes, this will be, I guess, in a sense, a world premiere at your school.
Well, a New York premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is indeed. So, thank you so much, Charles, for taking the time to talk to us. We're very excited for the show, which is happening February 19th through the 21st at the 4th Street Theater. Tickets on eventbrite.com.